Hi y'all. So a couple little things that I want to just go over for my classes. IXL does a really cool thing. It tells me kind of what you guys are struggling with. So I'd like to just take a minute and go over. There's two questions that popped up that are struggling. One for geometry and one for pre-calculus. So I'm going to do the geometry one first. Pre-calculus, I'll put a little annotation in the description, and then you can fast forward real quick to the one that you need to about. It looks like the one that you all struggled with was hold please. The parabolas. I've seen a lot of people struggling with the parabola in the vertex form given the focus. So, starting with geometry. Let me switch this over. Nope, not that, not that, not that, that. That's what I want. Okay, so the geometry, sorry for my dog, she's screaming. Geometry, it says a triangle has an area of 45 kilometers squared. And then the base is 10 kilometers. And then it says find the height. That's a question mark. Okay, so let's go ahead and, I mean, the first thing I'm going to do if I see this, I'm going to draw a triangle. And I think what you have to be careful is probably a lot of people get in here and they're like, oh, I'm going to draw a triangle. It's definitely got to look like that. And then they'll draw that triangle and be like, there, and then try and solve it. It doesn't say it's a right triangle, though. It just says it's some sort of a triangle. So you're not necessarily going to draw a right triangle. Draw yourself just some generic triangle like that. So I know that the height is this part that comes down right here that we're looking for. I know the base is 10 kilometers. So then all you have to do is you have to just think critically about what is the formula for the area of a triangle. Well, I know that the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height, which we could also write as area equals base height divided by 2. Right? And I think this formula right here is probably a little bit easier to look at when you go to do this, because when we plug stuff in, so I know that the area is 45, so where the big A is, I'm going to put a 45. And then it's base times height divided by 2. Well, I know the base is 10, I know the height is missing, and I'm going to divide it by 2. Well, if I go to solve this, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of that 2 by multiplying both sides by 2. So my 2's cancel, and I get 90 equals 10 h, which we could then divide by 10, and what's that going to tell me? Well, that's going to tell me the height is equal to 9, and that would answer the IXL question that the height is 9 kilometers. So you could do that with any shape. Like I could do that with a trapezoid. I could give you the height and the base 1 of a trapezoid and ask you to find base 2. You could do that with a square. I could give you the base 2. You could find the height. You could do that with any of our formulas. They could give you the area and ask you to find one of the missing pieces. So just be mindful of that as you work through those and try and solve those types of questions. All right, I'm erasing this now, so pause it if you need to see it. All right, my pre-calc classes, the question that was struggled with the most is something that actually looks like this. Let me see if I can copy this photo. I can't. I could do it in a weird way. Bloop. Bloop. Copy and paste. Okay, so if you were given this graph, right, and it said, from this graph, determine what the equation is in vertex form given this graph. So there's a few things that we need to be mindful of on here as we're looking at this picture. The first thing is that they gave me the vertex. The vertex is going to be the lowest point on your graph, whether that be the lowest on the parabola on the left, the lowest on the right, the lowest up, the lowest down, wherever it is. Just find that maximum or that minimum of your graph, and that is going to be your vertex. So in this, I know the vertex is at 2, 0. They also gave me this point right here that's the focus. I don't really care what point the focus is at. What I care about is how far is the vertice from the focus, or how far is the vertice from the directrix. The directrix would be the line that goes like that. What I care about is the fact is that this is 1 unit apart and this is 1 unit apart. Those things will always be the same distance apart every single time. The vertex will be equidistant from the directrix, which is the line, or the focus, which is the point. They're equal distance. What I care about is that distance that we're going to call P is equal to 1 in this problem. At that point, you're going to then look in your notes. If you look on page 20, whatever, I said the number. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not going to look at it. But whatever note we took parables on before we went on spring break, I gave you two formulas. The first formula was x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. And I told you that this is for parabolas that open in the upward direction or the downward direction. Being mindful that if it opens downward, this 4p is going to be a negative because it's going down, right? So that one's going to be your negative version. And if it is in this form, y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h, that's going to represent a parabola that opens up to the left or opens up to the right, where the one opening up to the left is your negative one. So that would make the 4p negative if it's going to the left. So those are your two formulas. In this case, I have a left and a right opening. That tells me it's going to be something with the y squared. So I know that I'm using the second formula right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h squared. We're just going to plug in what we know. Y, well, the minus k, remember k is always the y value of the vertex. In this case, it's 0. So y minus 0 squared equals 4. Well, we determined that p is 1. And we ask ourselves right now, should this 4p be positive or negative? Well, since the graph is opening up to the right, it's opening up in a positive direction. So we leave this 4 times 1 positive. Now, if this graph opened up this way, like that, we would know that we need to put a negative in front of that 4p part because it's opening up to the left, and the left is a negative direction. So I have 4 times p, and then I have x minus h. Remember, the h comes from the first value in the vertex, the x value. So it's x minus 2. At this point, I can go ahead and solve some of this stuff. So y minus 0 is going to simplify to just y, so I have y squared equals 4. 4 times 1 is 4, times x minus 2. And so I'm gonna work on solving this. Now, I don't really want to distribute that 4 because it's actually going to make it more work for us. I'm going to divide by 4. And what we know happens is if we divide y squared by 4, we get 1/4 y squared equals, those cancel, x minus 2, right? 1/4 is the same thing as taking y squared and dividing by 4. It means the same thing, but that's the proper way to write it, right? Because it's like a slope, right? So then the last step is just moving this piece over. We're going to add 2. Add 2. That add 2 doesn't have a variable on it. That's not what I wanted. I want 1/4 y squared plus 2. So really what that'll look like, and let me put it underneath the graph. I think I might be getting close to my video over there, or my face, and then it'll not be seeable. We'll put x equals 1/4 y squared plus 2. And that would be the vertex form of that. Hold on, let me double check that I put that in vertex form. Hold please, because for me, I kind of am thinking I may have that in the wrong spot. So how's everyone doing on this wonderful day? Oh really? That's super cool. That's awesome. I'm glad you shared that with me. I'm not losing my mind, I swear. I'm totally fine. Everything's fine. Everything's awesome. I'm totally sane. I'm still looking for things. Just bear with me. Bearing with me. I just want to make sure I put it in the right form because part of me feels like that form is slightly off, but then I feel like that's what I saw that they did. Loading. It's loading. It's loading slowly, but it's loading. Write this in its vertex form. Write this in its vertex form. Yeah, that would be the vertex form. Oh, duh, that's right. I'm thinking standard. Sorry, I was getting myself confused by the titles. If it said standard form, then I would have left it as this piece right here pretty much. I would have left it as y squared equals 4x minus 2. So this is standard, and this is vertex. I knew that. I don't know why. I do know I'm struggling. My brain isn't functioning because I'm just stuck at home being crazy. So hopefully that answers your couples of questions that I have seen pop up. Tomorrow I'll also be on. Don't forget my office hours are 11:30 to 12:30 and 2 to 3. So I will be on Zoom. You can get that code from your Google Doc. And I'll be checking IXL to see if there's anything you all get stuck on, and I'll send out another video tomorrow. So hopefully this helps a little bit and you're feeling good, and this distance learning is awesome and you're rocking it out. I miss you all so much. Bye.